Chris O'Rourke is Customer Experience Executive and Account Executive over at Zoom. Sir, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, kick things off, looking ahead, I want a future state from you of what the government citizen or government plus customer interaction looks like in a year, 2 years, 5 years down the road. What's in the future here?
I think it's an awesome question, and you really have to look at what the present state is to then look at what the emerging future might be. So right now, if you look at what we would term as high impact service providers, there's 38 separate government agencies that have been designated by OMB that produce a lot of services from, the IRS, the Social Security Administration, to the Department of Interior, USDA. These are what agencies where the OMB has said this is a higher degree of interaction with the public at large. And today that interaction looks like a phone call, or it fills out a form on the website, or you could send somebody through the mail, or ultimately maybe visit that in person. But it really isn't designed for the constituent in mind to be able to say, here's the conversation or the contact at the beginning to the completion of that activity. And obviously, let me take a step back for a second. Any type of interaction with government has to be trust first, protecting information, building it with a zero trust architecture. But with that in mind, to be able to enable things like AI, things like chat, and then to also be able to deliver additional services that would incorporate 508 accessibility for anybody that needs closed captioning or that requires sign language translation. Or right now, and within the United States, if you look it up, there's a statistic that says 20% or more of the public speak a language other than English. How do those individuals interact with the public with that goal of contact to completion? And ultimately, the goal would be to build trust with the public delivering those government services.
I want to pull on a thread that you raised there relative to 508 compliance. Compliance can be kind of a scary word for folks inside of government, but on the other end of that, relative to CX, what's that future state that you teased out? Like if they do 508 compliance right, what does that result in from a mission perspective, Chris?
I think at its heart, it's meeting the constituent where they're at, regardless of what their actual disability or needs are. So for service delivery, you could open up a chat, and that chat can begin with maybe an AI chat that's able to leverage information or needs that are associated with content that's provided by the government, or maybe it goes and accesses customer records. Once again, you're able to ensure that that security is in place. Then you can escalate that chat to a live agent. Maybe you then need to go from that chat, and maybe it's someone who is visually impaired and they need to have some type of voice and to be able to make a phone call and to be able to contact someone. And then beyond that, you can actually escalate that to a video and to be able to open up something, and I'm here wearing my Zoom pin, we could talk about a Zoom call, but you can escalate that to video and to be able to walk that person through. Maybe it's somebody who's elderly and they have a difficult time navigating a government website. It's that conversation to completion. And let's just say, for example, that conversation isn't going to be able to be resolved because there's a case that has to be opened up. Well, then how do you make sure that that constituent receives, here's the action items that we discussed today. Here's who owns the plan of delivery. Here's what you can expect to see in the future. And if you have any other questions, here's how you can contact us. Once again, I talked about the current state of a phone call, send something into a mail, or have to go somewhere in person versus an emerging future of doing all those things, but then also enabling things like AI. So upstairs, I was just listening to a little bit about survey results. So if you've ever done a contact center and they'll say, please stay on the line for an important customer survey.
Sounds familiar.
That's how they gauge the conversation. Well, in an emerging future, it's done in real-time analysis to be able to handle the sentiment of the constituent on the phone call and to be able to see if it's positive or negative. And if it's negative, maybe a supervisor could come in and support. Or you could go back and look at the transcript of that call and to be able to say, what are common errors that we can go, and maybe the public isn't understanding certain things. Those would be examples of what the emerging future would look like.
Talking about that emerging future with Chris O'Rourke over at Zoom. Sir, thanks so much.
Thank you very much for your time.